Recording in progress.
Okay, I call the meeting of the Morrow County Commission to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next up is our public comment, and this is time for people to make comments to the BOC, the Board of Commissioners. It's not a give and take. It's not a discussion way. It's just a chance for the public to speak. First, we'll go in the room, and then we'll go on Zoom. If there is somebody, then I'll explain what the rules are. If there isn't, I won't. Is there anybody in the room who wants to give a comment? Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to take part in the comment? See any hands up, anybody? Okay, we'll move on to item 3, consideration and adoption of agenda.
We've got a couple of updates. I'm gonna pull the minutes from December 30th. Let's see, and then the school-based health center agreement between Morrow County and the health district. The sheriff's office report. Let me see anything.
No.
Okay, so minutes from December 30th, and then sheriff's office report and the school-based healthcare.
Do we have a motion to approve with those additions?
I move to approve the agenda with those subtractions.
Second.
Okay, move to second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next we'll go to our department reports. Community Counseling Solutions Quarterly Report. Is Kimberly on Zoom? You there, Kimberly? I see her? Okay. We shall circle back to her then. Planning Department, Tamara.
Good morning. For the record, Tamara Mabott, Planning Director. I see you have a really long agenda, so I'll just cover a couple highlights. Attached to the actual update is the year-end totals. And the Planning Department's been tracking permit totals for many years by calendar year, not fiscal year. So just to show you, we're up significantly from, not from last year, we're just within a couple of permits of last year, but lots of permits, so we have plenty to do. On a related note, we're still recruiting for a principal planner. Have a second interview with someone this Friday, so hopefully we'll have something. I included, like I usually do, several links to renewable energy projects so that I don't have to enumerate all of those. And I can't keep track of them, so it's a good way for us internally and externally to keep track of those. As well as Stephen's online interactive energy map that shows those and tracks the total of maps. I'm gonna share that tomorrow. A week from yesterday, we will have the first formal hearing with the Planning Commission to hopefully adopt the Columbia River Heritage Trail update. That's been about an 18-month process. Clint's been doing the heavy lifting on that for the past year for us. I think it's a good piece of work, and then we are going to be scheduling an internal meeting with Assistant County Administrator Vance Guerrero and his team to talk about implementation. Also know that it's on your capital improvement plan. Let's see, just referenced really for your benefit and the general public, the 2 code updates with implementing the new solar rules and the goal 3 for administrative rules. Stephen snapped a picture of his snow plow route map that Public Works and Matt asked him to do. It's a nice piece of work. Caitlin has a summary of code compliance, a number of things going on with water, myself and GSI and a couple people from Umatilla County will be meeting with the state to look at a test. There's some funding that a whole different department has to do a water pilot well project. We included the latest version of the interchange out at Tower Road and Interstate 84. And that went out to the technical advisory and the policy advisory committee. It's a hybrid of versions that have that were presented to the TAC and the PAC meetings. It's something that works with ODOT's budget, if they have a budget. Don't ask me about ODOT's budget. That's somebody else might know about that. But I think folks think it's implementable is the idea. We've just spent.
Excuse me. So it appears that no roundabouts here, because I know that they were talking about roundabouts. Personally, I'm happy about that. But,
Okay.
and I think that a lot of the truck traffic out there, based off of comments that they had made, I think that the truck users would probably be pleased that no roundabouts.
That's good to know. I think they were, they showed up and gave the kind of the pro and the con about that. So that's good to know that the consultant Kettleson listened, paid attention to that. They've done a really good job. Caitlin and I, Caitlin Kennedy, our compliance planner, and I have been working on the scope of work for a transportation system plan update. That's a pretty big undertaking. It's a project funded by ODOT. It's federal pass-through money, so that shouldn't be part of the legislative discussion about what to do with ODOT's budget. It does take quite a while to go through procurement, so this spring sometime we should start, although we met with Umatilla County right around December. Caitlin and I took a trip over and got some public involvement ideas from them, and it took them a full year after the contract was awarded to get through the procurement process. So I say the spring, please don't hold me to it. It might be a little bit later than that, but I think we're ready to go. And as part of that project, we partnered with the town of Lexington to do just their Main Street because they had applied for a grant and that wasn't awarded. So happy to answer any questions.
What was the last part you said, that they applied for a grant and what?
That was not awarded,
They
so
didn't get it, okay.
ODOT reached
That's
out and said, would you be willing to include a piece of theirs so it's not a separate grant? And we said, we would.
I'm glad you're doing that.
Oh,
as
well, thank you. Yeah, I think it'll be good for Lexington.
Any questions, Tara? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up would be our juvenile department, Christie.
I'll move the box.
I was just thinking, it's right there on the front. Morning, Commissioners. Christy Kinney, Juvenile Department Director. I think you probably have gotten my written, but just to highlight a few things on there. Always like to give you guys updates on trainings that we've attended. The Oregon Judicial Branch had a virtual training back in November where they had quite a turnout. I want to say there was over 150 attendees from the Oregon Judicial Branches. Could be district attorneys, judges, juvenile departments, the judicial branches, so anybody was welcome to attend. They had Dr. Gina Vincent explain kind of the purpose of having risk assessments done prior to disposition on cases. So in the juvenile world, disposition is like the sentencing. And so it really helps. Morrow County is very lucky. Our defense attorneys are very willing to allow us to do our risk assessments prior to disposition, which really helps make guided decisions. So when we have youth that come in, we don't just do, you do this crime, we look at risk assessment, so needs, and kind of taper our disposition to what's going on with those kids. So it's more individualized for every youth. So they just were expressing how important it is to try to get that information prior to, versus some counties do struggle with allowing those to get done prior to disposition, which makes it more of a matrix type of system in their world. So little update on that. Also our Central Eastern Oregon Juvenile Justice Consortium. I know that's a mouthful. Acronym COJAC, we call it COJAC in our world. The COJAC is the 17 Central Eastern Oregon counties. which we're a part of. That was established back in 1987. If you guys would love a little history lesson on Kojak, I would be happy to explain that in a really lengthy term, but in essence, it's been around for many, many years, and it was an IGA created back in the 80s, early 90s, to help facilitate the smaller counties having a bigger voice at the state, helping pool money as well. We get money from Oregon Youth Authority from the state to help manage treatment, pay for those things like sex offender treatment that can be very costly for little counties if it's just even one youth. So as that, we have elections every 2 years. I'm now the vice chair of Kojak. Our chair of Kojak is Erica Fricke, who's the director of Crook County. And so every 2 years we have elections to hold for the officers of our Kojak region. So little update there, as well as I'm also part of our legislative committee as the Oregon Juvenile Department Directors Association, another acronym, which is OJDDA. That's our statewide 36 county association that we belong to. And so sitting on the ledge committee is kind of eye-opening on all of the legislative concepts that come. So we're going to be jumping into the session here soon, looking at anything that might have impacts in our world. And as a legislative committee, we hopefully go back before our legislators to say, hey, this is kind of our recommendation. We think this is, good for our world, or not necessarily a good thing for our world. So it'll be a very learning experience for myself. So I'm excited to do that. And then we hold every year, I think I've mentioned at the last meeting, we have our Juvenile Justice Conference that we hold every year. And this year it's going to be a little later. It'll be October 5th through the 8th in Seaside. But Kojak, it jumps around from our regions every year to host this. And so our Kojak region is currently putting together all the keynotes, all the session workshops. So if you or anybody has seen a great keynote speaker, I think we have one in line tentatively. That might fit in our world of juvenile justice, or if you guys have been to any trainings or anything like that, that sounds like, wow, you should really look at this keynote, get people motivated, as well as kind of, fits in the juvenile justice world, please send them my way. We are happy to hear of any new great speakers. So just throwing that pitch out there. So, and then the last thing, Norcor hired a new detention manager. They were without for several months. Todd Geeson is his name. I haven't had a chance to meet him in person, but have met virtually several times. We have a program committee, so he's kind of getting his feet wet after being there for a couple months and trying to get Norcor up to speed on things. So that's more or less the update from the juvenile world. Another thing I didn't actually put on here that I thought was kind of interesting, we did try instead of an ankle bracelet, you've probably seen offenders wear ankle bracelets. I reached out to a company, it's called Teletrex. They actually do watches now. So kind of a different, instead of having a big ginormous thing on your ankle, a watch that could be used as like a GPS tracker. So they sent us a prototype or a model. We tested it out. I've taken it all over Morrow County. I know there's some kind of not the greatest service areas, so there is some little lapses in that, but it's something I'm considering possibly doing if we needed to use for least restrictive means instead of a big bracelet. It's kind of a bigger watch, but it's an interesting change in that. So a little less conspicuous.
How big is it compared to my watch?
It's about that same size, almost the same as mine. It's a little bulkier, it almost kind of reminds me of more Fitbit because it's big plastic. I know it's not the most ideal, but it's a little less than a big
Oh, I
ankle
can
bracelet.
absolutely see that.
And so you're like, hey, maybe kids wouldn't necessarily see that you have your own house arrest. So something different they're exploring. My biggest issue was I could not get the clasp. I didn't actually put it on and wear it fully because there's a clasp because I couldn't get it off. So my worry was I was gonna have it on and I could not get the little clasp because there's security things on there. So they're working on a new prototype that they should be coming out with this year, they said. So right now I'm not going to be jumping into it until I can figure out how the heck to get that off. So
Okay.
that's the biggest concern.
You're welcome to come test it on him next.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to use you as a guinea pig if you're willing to.
Keep track of it.
Yeah.
His wife can keep.
Well,
Then
we're
we can
being
track
tracked
your
all
every
the time
movement.
anyways. This is a
Yep.
separate conversation.
So,
Okay.
any
All right, well,
questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sheriff's report, Brian.
We're
Oh, that's right, okay. Should have crossed that off. Okay. Justice Court. Glenn,
You skipped the
No,
loop.
you skipped the loop,
Oh.
Stephen.
Stephen, are you, there he is. You coming down?
Yes,
He's here.
that's the door, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's here.
Should I go grab him? Oh, no, there he is. Good morning.
Good morning. I thought I had one more person.
You did, but we changed it, so now you're up.
Ooh, got here quick from you again. No, sure. Good morning, Stephen Davis, Public Transit Manager. Just a quick highlight of a few things that happened the last quarter. We'll start with our charts here. Ridership continues to grow month over month, quarter over quarter. You eliminate July, which was the month where we did the overload for the swimming youth program. You can kind of see that every month we're gaining more and more traction with the community. November's little dip can be explained with there's only 18 service days in December, in November, where December had 21 and October had 23. So it's not necessarily a dip in ridership as much as the amount of days we worked during the month. So we're excited to see that. Additionally, so far through the 11 service days in January, we're already at 670 riders. So we'll already see an increase in January's ridership compared to December's. At the end of this week, I'll be submitting our RLS audit findings from ODOT. It's due on the 16th of February. We had a couple of findings, one with our accounting system, which is being rectified with the new system that's coming into play. And then there was a few little nuances we had to have for ADA purposes. Additionally, all of our staff has gone through the several trainings that I have listed here just to keep up on their skills and be proactive when there's situations on the bus. We will also be hosting an ODOT training here in this room in March called Best Ride. It's a organ-based training off of a national PASS training, which is passenger assistance, safety, and sensitivity. So it's a class that's typically required for public transit people to have. Our drivers have never had it, so through an ODOT contract at no cost to us, we'll be hosting that training. I reached out to some of our Region 5 providers as well and offered to have any of their staff come and be part of that training as well. So this room will be nice and full on the 19th with everybody learning how to be better operators. Just a other quick few highlights here. Our Amarillo route in Boardman is blowing up. We're securing about 25 to 30 elementary school students every day that are riding the bus. It actually got so big and so consistent that we actually have to send 2 buses every morning now. We started going and picking them up and then running up to the school and turning around real fast and getting the few stragglers, but as more and more parents have realized this is an option for them, that they don't have to have their kids walk in the cold weather, in the dark. Every morning, more and more kids are showing up there. So we're getting close to potentially having to send 3 buses every morning. So,
Well done.
Which is great, right? It's sad when summer comes, they're not riding anymore because we're going to see 30, 40 different riders every day.
I would be
Disappear.
very interested, well, yeah, in the summer, but
Yeah.
I'd be interested in when, it warms up and it's brighter.
Yeah, see what
if there's a
happens.
change, or if kids are like, no, this is great.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, right, hopefully like these young kids, they see this as an opportunity, right? And as they get a little older and gain a little bit of freedom, whether in middle school, their parents might let them utilize the bus to go wherever they want in town. And that's really what we're trying to capture, right? Getting that parent's trust and that comfortability, and then having the students know that it's access for them. So that's really good to see. I commend Patrick. He was the one that's driving that bus every morning that's really stopped and kind of advocated and talked to the parents and let them know that we're here to support that. So
For our demand response, the bottom chart, you'll see a little decrease in numbers. Part of that is winter months. Winter months, less people go outside, and especially our vulnerable community, just because of darkness, cold. But we've also been successful in transitioning 2 individuals that regularly used our demand response service, which is our much more costly service, into using the fixed route. So they were going to places where we could easily deviate the larger bus to their home, pick them up, continue the route, and then drop them off. And so 3 or 4 trips a week we were doing for each of those riders are now being done on the big buses, where it costs us the same whether it's full or whether it's empty. So it's been a great transition seeing them coming. We also started on January 5th another youth program. So the Boardman Parks and Rec's girls basketball program is happening after school. They reached out because they didn't have funding to secure transportation and asked how our system worked, and we were able to, just on our regularly scheduled routes, be able to stop by Windy River Elementary after school, pick up 16 to 20 young ladies every day, and then take them to the rec center. So that will be happening for 2 months as well. So once again, right, benefit to us, we're transporting people, which is our job, and benefit to them because they're not spending resources on trying to find how to get these kids literally across town, somewhere where we're already going. So it was a great partnership. Lastly, just through 2025, I thought this was an interesting fact. Our 3 fixed route buses ran approximately 160,000 miles, and our demand response bus did about 35,000. So that's almost 200,000 miles the 4 buses drove throughout the year, which is 7.8 times around the earth. That's a lot if you think about that coming from Morrow County. You know, we put a lot of miles on those rigs every day. And so with our January 5 service changes, we've really seen a great increase. We're getting people catching the bus along Columbia Avenue here in Irrigan, which was a new thing. Our ridership from our South County Morrow route, I can't say it's increased, but now that the 2 routes are separated, we can identify how much is riding each route. And there was a significant more people riding that route than I thought. In fact, about 50% of the people that are riding South County up to North are in our senior demographic, which is really great that people see that resource and understand it's there for them. So I think that's all I have about to share, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions?
I have a silly question.
Yes.
So why are your charts from right to left and not left to right? We've got 2025 quarter 2 and then 2025 quarter 3 and then 2025 quarter 4.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
just backwards to me.
So there could be 2 options. One, I'm just seeing as adding the newest one left to right, 'cause that's the most current.
Uh-huh.
I'm also dyslexic, so maybe I'm not realizing. That's what I have what's called spatial dyslexia, so I don't see things backwards, but I process things backwards. So maybe maybe unbeknownst, that's what I was doing.
It works. I've had that question for months now.
Oh.
So, okay. There's no secret.
No.
This is the way we do it in transportation. Get on the
No,
bus.
to be honest, now that I think about it, probably lots of charts I've made followed the direct path. So, one thing I guess I would like to add, it's nice now with separating all of our routes where they're running independent of each other and making connections throughout the community. I will be able to, in the future, start providing ridership numbers directly for every route. So we can really see and have an understanding, right, of how much each route's doing and how well they're performing based off of the population sizes that they're serving. So
Okay. That'll be great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Stephen?
No question, just comment. I think it's great that, we're seeing the increase in ridership and the different programs that you're implementing with the youth. And I think that comes summertime, even though they won't have the school functions, if they're used to using the bus, they usually get down to the marina and the park down there and other places around town.
last summer we had a son that would come to the skate park here in Irrigan, right? And it's just the more people that get comfortable, the more parents that get comfortable, the more opportunity we have for the youth to use it.
They know that the resource is there and what it will do for them, so that's great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your guys' support.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Justice Court. I saw Glenn before the meeting. He said he's pretty busy, he might not make it, and I don't see him.
So I do have an update. Kimberly Lindsay won't be here until about 10:20.
Okay. Alrighty, 10:20. Okay.
You might still be.
Then we have the Justice Court, we have a written report. Treasurer's report, that's written, so. Accounts payable, monthly report, Kevin, that's written. Okay, next up is our consent agenda, and we have two changes there. Is there anything you guys wanna pull out of that?
No.
Nope.
Hear a motion to approve with those two redactions or
Corrections. I move to approve the consent agenda with the corrections we made at the beginning of the meeting.
Second.
been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is our business items. First place up is our workplace complaint. Now, it's got my name on that, but basically just, I would say one kind of thing going into this is, I did the same thing as with the other one. This is all under legal advice, the way the whole thing's being handled. All three of us got it, so we know what it is.
So this is the email that came out towards the very end of the year.
Correct. So, this is self-explanatory. The only thing I'd caution is, well, no, let's see what you guys wanna say, but, you know,
So my comments gonna be, Dave, is that I understand probably why you took this route, but I think that the county has policies and procedures in place for handling complaints that are basically an employee and it's a complaint against their supervisor. And I think that there's policies and procedures in place that I think that the proper way to handle this, I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be an investigation done, but I think that it probably needs to be handled through our normal channels. And that would be Matt and him determining what the channels, who the people are going to conduct this investigation and following the county policy.
well, I'm telling you, Jeff, I brought this to council, and this is the way they told me to do it, exactly like this.
Well,
And I, you know, I don't wanna sit here and, you know, hash this out right now. I don't think it's a good idea, because you can get into trouble when you start talking about things in open session. So, Justin nodded his head, right?
Yeah, it's a fine, it's always why it's a weird one of these at times when you do something, but yeah, I agree that if there's a question on the process, that's fine, but yeah, going into details, I guess, I mean, I'm sure no one's gonna say names or anything else, which is fine, but talking about process, I think it's fine though too, but yeah, good cautionary tale to be.
So,
cautious, so.
and the reason, I mean, you know, you can make suggestions to me right here that I should have done this and I should have done that. But, labor law is pretty dense, Jeff, and, you
I
know.
don't disagree with that, Dave. I think that, you know, like I said, I think that the county has the policies, and I'm not saying that there doesn't necessarily need to be investigation done, but I think that the county has policies for doing this. To me, this is the board getting into this micromanagement of something. I think that where we instigate the investigation only deals with
Well,
one
we have
employee,
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
with, you know, just the one employee that we have control over. I think that's, otherwise, I think that, you know, I know you said that the legal told you, you know, I would just, I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I would want to ask them myself further questions and get clarification.
Yeah.
For us to start the process.
Okay,
I think that county has policies and procedures in place to address this. That's my
I mean,
take on it.
either of you can call legal and talk to them, or talk to Justin, whoever you want. But, you know, I'm just not, I've seen too many pitfalls on this, not just with this organization, but other ones. And, you know, and the last one we had, the consensus seemed to be, well, we need board approval. So, here we are, board approval. If you don't wanna move forward, then we'll just vote no.
Yeah.
I'm, from what anyway,
So,
from my talk with council, I will vote yes, but it's up to you guys.
I agree with Jeff on, I was going through our policy and I think my preference would be that we we follow through with our policy, because one of the concerns that I have outside of we should follow our policy, that's just, I feel like that's what we should do, is if we are jumping the gun, so to speak, then we are removing one of the avenues where we can assess whether or not our supervisors or our administrator are following through on the job they're supposed to be doing based on our policy. And if they don't do that, then that becomes a secondary issue that we have to address. But I want to make sure that we aren't overstepping and potentially putting ourselves in a situation where there might be a secondary issue that needs to be addressed, but we didn't do it because we skipped a step. So I'm in agreement with Jeff
Okay,
on that.
my question would be, when you say we should follow policy, who's we? Everybody all three of us had this, but I didn't see anybody else following policy. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe
Yeah.
you did, I don't know.
Um,
Did either of you guys follow policy on this? Do anything?
Sorry, I am saying that the complainant should follow policy, and if that policy is followed. So our process is informal discussion, written complaint to supervisor, then written complaint to senior management. That is what our policy states.
Did you inform the complainant that that's what they should do?
I did.
You did. You told them that what the policy was and what they should do.
I said that that would be my preference. My personal recommendation is that we table this until the process as described by county policy is followed, and then we face whatever comes out of that process. That's where I sit.
Okay, did you put in writing to the complainant that what they need to do and cite the policy so that they know what they're supposed to be doing now? Rather than just say, okay, we need to follow policy. And did you email them and give them the policy and say, no, don't give it to the BOC, do this and this and this?
I don't feel comfortable with the way this conversation is going.
Yeah, I imagine. Because I'm just trying to, you say that my process, what I did wasn't correct, but then I asked you what you did, and then it gets uncomfortable. So, I'll make a motion that we, what is the suggested motion? Motion to approve the engagement of Workforce Solution Northwest to conduct an investigation and authorize appropriate and necessary funding. Do I hear a second? Okay, motion died for lack of a second. Okay, next up would be consideration of circuit courthouse guaranteed maximum price proposal. And that's Matt and Vincent.
Good morning, board. We've got, just one second, I've got an echo.
We can introduce ourselves. Too bad, it's easier.
I've got Matt might be sharing.
So
Just in case.
the next item that we have is the consideration of circuit courthouse guaranteed maximum price proposal. We have part of our design team here in person. We have Doug, who's our, with Alliance, who's our owner rep, project manager. And we have Patrick from Mountain Construction, who is our CNGC representative. We also have Kelly, Austin, and Lori from ELR. And this is the point where we're reporting what the actual construction cost will be for the project. And we have good news, which is great. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to Kelly, who has a presentation she'd like to share and to bring you up to speed. And we are looking for approval to proceed with the GMP as presented and to look to get contract documents to solidify this and allow us to have a groundbreaking. So with that, unless there's any questions from the commission, I'd like to turn the time over to Kelly to share her presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Hello, everyone. Is there an echo in the room by any chance?
No.
No,
Okay.
sound good.
Let me share my screen.
Board, just to let you know, I think we have the echo microphone as well as the room microphone happening.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if there's one way we could disable one or the other.
That's the mic.
Or is it your?
So you're not hearing an echo, but I think when anybody talks online, they're picking up both.
It's on the.
Everyone see that? The echo that was in my ear actually went away, so thank you. All right.
Board, can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay. All right. The last time we saw you, we were presenting on the design development process. And now we've since completed the construction documents phase. So just a quick little summary of what that process was like since we saw you last, some things that we've done design updates wise. We've begun the furniture selection process. So there's a user group committee that's been meeting on that, and selecting furniture is kind of on a different timeline than the rest of the project since we don't actually need the furniture until later in the project. So we're still in the beginning processes of selecting furniture. Then, as part of refining the documents, we start to design around basis of design materials. And that would be, for example, taking a particular widget and designing around that, but still making sure that we're able to be open to comparable alternate products. That allows us to more competitively bid the project by having what we call basis of design. So we've done a lot of selecting that, putting our specifications together around that. Another thing is that we've been allocating the mandatory 1.5% of the total project budget to green energy technology. It's an Oregon mandate. And so we don't have to hit specific scope, we have to hit a specific budget. So our estimates are about quantity. And we've covered the roof in solar panels to attempt to hit that target, and that we'll get more clarity around that as bids get finalized and we work with the trade partners. And another big thing that we've done as part of these last few months is we decided we want to allocate an allowance in the budget for an art installation. And there'll be a request for proposal process that we'll be initiating soon, where we'll try to seek local artists to propose some sort of installation specifically for the public stair, which you'll see some renderings of a little bit later to get an idea of what space we're looking to fill with art. So those are the big things. And then just a reminder of what the design of the building is, what it's planned to look like. Here's the site plan. If you remember, the public enters the site from the south, the public lot and the public plaza, where they'll enter the building from the south there, and then the staff enters from the northwest into their own parking lot. And there's a security gates around, or security arms around that, and a fire lane on the west that connects those lots in an emergency or for Sally Port use. And then with our drawings done, we're able to do more accurate renderings of the building. So we were sharing those here with you all for the first time. We haven't really shared these even with our own team yet. And I'll let Austin speak a little bit about just helping to orient you to where these views are and some key things to notice in the views.
Yeah, so this is the building. This is what you'll see kind of when you approach the main entrance from the south. And so I think one of the last few times that we had met with the commissioners, they had expressed, that we utilize some of the a similar palette to what's on the historic building, and so you'll see in this view that we utilize some kind of larger precast components that are, you'll see those at the top of the fascias and around the entries. Those are heavy precast panels, and then also some white metal wraps that kind of wrap the windows, the smaller punch windows. If you go to the next slide. This is sort of as you approach the entry underneath sort of the main entry. There's this is in the public plaza, and so this is sort of a larger kind of open space for people to kind of spread out, and it sort of makes the entry just more clear. I should note that along with the white precast panels and the wraps, that we tried to match the brick as best as we could. It's actually a pretty good match with the basalt rock that's on the historic building, and so this is kind of like a brother or sister to the historic building. In this view itself, you're looking into kind of the middle portion of the building that sort of bridges the two forms together, and this is the public lobby and kind of the grand stair moment, and so this is looking in. And if you go to the next slide, this is from the inside looking out in that space, and so you'll have kind of above you that wood bridge that sort of spans the two forms, and then there it is again, kind of from the mid landing, and so we're using a little bit of a different palette. Again, what you would kind of see in the historic building, a lot of wood, some of that old timey kind of reeded glass that you also see in the historic building, and some of the old kind of law office feel, and so using a little bit more wood and some of these interior spaces to kind of pair with that brick. And then here's the courtroom waiting area on the second floor. See the door to the courtroom on the left. This is where people to kind of sit for respite, and they have a big court case coming up. They can find different places to kind of nestle in and prepare. And then this is the circuit courtroom, is the only courtroom in this building, but we kind of wanted to give this more of a true Hepner feel and express some heavy timber in here with the vaulted ceiling, and this room is pretty symmetrical, and we want to highlight the judge and the process as much as we can. And so this is again using that same kind of interior palette that you would find in Hepner.
Austin, can you just go back to that one real quick? Board, just to let you know, one of the specific requests from the circuit court was to be able to have multi participants. You can see where the more or less the plaintiffs can sit and that the prosecutors. There's actually 4 tables there for multi-party suits to be discussed. I say one thing that's kind of really indicative of Morrow County. If you get into land use or other kind of issues down here that require that, there's multiple parties involved, and so this is a little bit different than even the courts that you'll see over in Umatilla County. That's kind of specific for the needs of our county. So just wanted to point that out to y'all.
Yeah, those 2 tables, I guess, where the folks are sitting at, just on the other side of the gallery, those will be, I think, kind of permanent tables, and then the 2 that kind of make the L shape going north are movable, so if you don't need them, you can just tuck them away. I think that's it for renderings.
Thanks, Austin. So now that we've wrapped up construction documents, we're moving on to the permitting and bidding phase of the project, and I'll speak briefly to the permit process. We submitted for our structural permit, which covers fire, life safety, and the structural integrity of the building. That's all been completed, approved, reviewed. Thank you to the City of Boardman. Then the mechanical permit is being processed right now. The plumbing permit, actually, we may have just submitted that in the last day or two. And the electrical permit goes to the state of Oregon, and that's been submitted, as well as the 1200C stormwater permits all been submitted. But the most important one, and usually the one that takes the longest, is the structural permit. So it's good that we have that in hand now. And then let me turn it over to some of the guys who are in the room with you. I'll still keep sharing and pushing forward on the presentation, but here's some project parameters that all kind of lead into understanding where we're at with bidding. So who wants to take it away? I think the room's still muted.
We may need to turn on the owl or whatnot to get sound back.
Okay, don't do anything, Valerie.
We can hear you now.
Oh, hold on.
Okay, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What microphone are they hearing us from?
Not sure, but there's no echo.
Okay,
Perfect, all right.
That's
fine.
Nice.
Don't touch anything else.
I was afraid to take to the laptop. If you can hear me, then we're perfectly fine.
Yep.
All right, I'll start over. Doug Carl with Alliance. I guess just a reminder as we walk through this that we've been before you guys several times in this process of doing the circuit court, and you guys have helped us define some parameters. One of which was a total budget of 35 million, which was the agreed upon number. As we split that out between hard costs, construction costs, and soft costs, which we've explained previously, we created a budget target of the GMP of $24.5 million of construction cost. In that process, we went out for proposals and hired Boughton Construction, and we have worked together, Boughton Construction and the design team, to fine tune this and then create an actual guaranteed maximum price, the GMP, for this so that we can get to an actual contract. And so I'm going to turn it over to Patrick from Boughton and let him explain what went on, how it was put out, how it was bid, and how we got to the target number or under the target number for today's presentation.
Yeah. Good to see you guys again. Kelly, can you go back to the last, or whoever's in charge, the last slide one more time? So I just kind of want to talk through, I know we met at schematic design, kind of talk about how we got here. At that time, I know we were quite a bit over, and that was when we decided to get rid of the second courtroom. And then we met at design development. We were really close, so we just agreed to keep moving forward, worked on design refinement. Through the course of CDs, we're really close to 24.5, and then we'll share the overall maximum price here shortly. But overall, it's been great trend down working with DLR in that process. So if you want to go to the next slide, Kelly, now. So we received the construction documents in mid to late November. Took a couple of days to finish putting together bid documents. We put them out to bid through our bid list, as well as publicly advertising on 5 or 6 plan centers throughout the west side of Oregon, Eastern Washington, and Central Washington. We broke the scope into 37 bid packages, just kind of based off what made sense for this project. And with that, we received 137 total bids, so almost 4 bids per bid package, which I think this market is advantageous for this project of where we timed it and going to the market, because there's definitely a lot of competition out there on the subcontractor front. So overall, we say that's a pretty a success for this project.
Especially considering the location.
Yeah. So, and then I guess Kelly, you want to hit the slide one more time, but anyways, the guaranteed maximum price that we have submitted is just under 24.2 million. So a bit under the 24.5. We think that is an adequate number to complete this project. So any questions before we go to the next slide on that? Okay.
Hooray.
Yes. So timeline, We are planning to mobilize the site, assuming the paperwork gets resolved here in mid-February. We'll have about a week or so of kind of getting the site set up and ready for construction, and we're targeting to start putting buckets in the ground towards the end of February. And targeting turning the facility over to Morrow County the 2nd of July of 2027. And then the tentative ribbon cutting date there shortly thereafter. So that's the scheduled dates that are included with our GMP amendment.
So I guess I'll go ahead and ask a good question. So we have a guaranteed price maximum. What do we have in terms of guarantees about timeline? Do we have anything like that?
Yeah, there is liquidated damages in the contract, so
Okay.
there's impacts if that date is not achieved.
Normal construction language, et cetera. Obviously, COVID, there's something that we can't control happens. You know, that target doesn't get hit, but there are normal triggers in place that help us stay online and focused. And these guys have an incentive to stay online. This is how they make money by being on time. So
just doing due diligence. Thank you. I'm good. Yeah.
Questions? I think there's one more slide of this, Kelly, on price sharing.
Oh, that's the hidden slide in case
Okay.
people want to know more.
Yeah. Board, if Chair, if you don't mind, I'd just like to say, when they went out to bid, and as we've been working on this, I appreciate the efforts of Boughton and DLR. They've been very responsive and been very keyed in onto the value engineering while still preparing a quality product that would be that will last the county quite a long time. I've been very impressed with their stewardship of this project and appreciate Alliance helping guide the direction as well. When they got the bids in, it was one of the best days of my profession at Morrow County when I saw what the GMP was going to be, because I was afraid, quite frankly. And I called Patrick up and just gave him kudos for doing that. He deferred it to the great subs he's got that have pulled in. I know we do have some local subs that responded and were awarded if you go through that list. And so it's just been a great collaboration between this project team, and I appreciate their efforts in making sure that we get down. One thing is noted in the comments that we do have contingency funds allotted as all construction projects should to cover any unanticipated costs. So we're hoping that this, I'm fairly confident this is the price you will see, and it is under the budget that the Board of Commissioners had approved. And so we're hopeful that we can get your approval to proceed with contract documents. We'll have those hopefully ready. Well, our plan is to have those ready to you for the February 4th meeting. And I know Patrick's planning to mobilize immediately after, if not getting the ball rolling as we get those contracts underway. So any questions, we've got the team in front of you and happy to answer anything that you might have.
Yeah, I got a question. Maybe I didn't catch it in here. When it comes under bid, like, or do you get a breakdown? Where did that underbid come from? Materials? Do you know? Did they ever tell you?
Not specifically. I mean, we're putting together an overall estimate based off as we go through this process of what we think it's going to cost. But I mean, that's just more or less using historical costs and trade partner input as we go along through this whole design process. And we actually put it out on the street for bidding. It's everyone's number lump sum competing against each other. So there were some packages that are up, some that are down, but overall.
Yeah. What do you usually see in the change order department here is on a job like this, a percentage, do you think maybe? Is there average on a brand new building with, I mean, what's materials costs doing right now?
I would say they're staying about
fluctuating.
I would say they're staying pretty consistent. We haven't had much tariff impact, if anything, to date that we've noticed. I would say they're staying pretty flatlined right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to answer that. Every project's different. like Matt said, we do have construction contingency built into our number, and then Doug and Matt have owner contingency built into their number for if we do encounter things that aren't expected or not assumed. But I think in general, we've tried to put together a conservative GMP that has some allowances built in to try to account for as much as possible, so.
He made reference in the timing, being out to bid and the number of bids that we received. All of that plays into getting a better number. There's more competition when they're competing against each other. They know they got to sharpen the pencil a little bit, and in each one of those 37 breakout areas, that helps whittle it down to a smaller number. So it's all helpful that way.
No, I mean, just get, every time you turn on the news in the mornings, there's a tariff getting laid somewhere. I don't know how much is coming from outside the country, or.
I'm not sure they know either.
But that's why better to get the orders in
Yes.
for the steel and things like
If
that
we
now.
guaranteed maximum
If you're
amount.
saying the prices are semi-stable right now, let's get it locked in.
Well, what we're looking for today is you guys to nod at us and say, yes, you approve of that number and you want us to march forward. We are ready to give the documents to Sean Gay, the attorney for this CMGC process, and have him create final contract documents. And we are hopeful that on February 4th, we can bring those back to you, and it can be, part of your consent agenda to authorize signature on final contracts. So if you approve today, what we'll do is two things. One, we'll issue a notice to proceed to the contractor, enables him to start contacting all their subs and get the process going. We will also ship everything off to Sean Gay in Portland to start finalizing the contract documents.
I don't have any more questions other than I want to see our mystery slide. I'm curious, what do you have?
All right, Kelly.
Dang it. Here, give me a second. I have to end the slideshow.
The mystery slide shows the breakdown between the county and the state.
Yeah.
And so this is more of an update for me on where we're at. Part of this is, this is a true breakdown of the 50% of the percentage that the state occupies. And part of that is they have a limited amount. They're actually their portion is higher than our portion. Their portion is higher than what they have budgeted. And we looked into requesting additional funds, and they, with the OJD setup that they've got going, that those funds would not be available until 2019 after our project is all done. And so there's a certain portion that the county will have to cover based on that. Part of that is just the additional cost of switching locations and such. But we're about $1 million that we'll have to cover of what what could be the state's costs that would have to be, and that would put our amount at about $20 million actually. So this shows what it could be, but not exactly what they're budgeted for.
What was that deferred payment date you just gave us?
So the state monies, if we were to make a request through the OJD setup, those monies wouldn't be available until 2019.
2029.
That's what. No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2029.
Okay.
I'll blame the medication, but yeah. So it'd be after our project was all done, and so they said we are not a viable applicant in that way.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Any more?
One item I want to bring up tentatively, and I'm apprehensively. The name of the building right now is the Morrow County Circuit Courthouse. If there is, and I haven't heard any desire to name it anything else, but if the board wants to even consider that, we'd need to consider that very soon before things get too far down the road. Morrow County Circuit Courthouse has a lot of letters in it, so if we wanted to change it, we should make a consideration on that in the next meeting or two if you have any desire to do so.
I personally don't, but I appreciate the heads up.
Well, when we did the Bartholomew building, we went out and asked the public what they thought,
Mhm.
so.
So if, like I said, if there's any consideration to do that, we should do that in the next month or so. And know that, so we can anticipate that with our project team.
Well, I move to approve the Circuit Courthouse guaranteed maximum price proposal of $24,173,844.00.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Move to second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Good
you.
to
Appreciate it, guys.
hear
Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks.
you brought us some good news, and we like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up would be. Finally, it's not Kimberly's time, is it not? Consideration of order adopting fee schedule. Matt and Vince.
Yes, sir. The county fee schedule hasn't been updated since 2022. We have been working on this for a little bit of time, and we are bringing together a fee schedule and update for several of the tables in it. Some of these are just clerical adjustments. Some adjust the fees a bit. The ones that have major adjustments are environmental health, table D, which reflects the actual fees that our contracted provider, Umatilla County Environmental Health, charges for those. The fair, table E, we've adjusted some of the rental rates for use of the buildings and such. We also have planning department, which adjusts some of the more time-consuming permit processes to reflect a little bit higher fees on it. Not many, but a couple. Public Works, this is where we actually do the formal change of switching to the weight scales for the transfer stations and adjust the hangar's office. And just let you know, we have this. I'm looking at this order and we need to modify it a little bit, and I apologize on that. Table K is actually the new parks table, and then everything below that is shifted down one. And so Public Works is table L, Sheriff's is table M, Surveyor's table N, table O is Treasurer, and then there's a new table P, which is the whole county. And so that's a change on the order that we would have to look at, and I apologize for not catching that. Most of the other changes are small adjustments that need to be taken care of, just for clarity, and some for compliance with state statute. Clerks provides directions and increases passports just a little bit, those kind of things. But really, it's most of these are to reflect the actual costs, or to keep up with the costs based on inflationary rates of operations, and that for taking care of county business. As we do this order, there is a requirement to have and allow public comment on these if there's anything. And so we would have just kind of an opening for public comment if there is, before a motion is presented and passed. But if there's any questions by the Board of Commissioners, be happy to answer those and or take any notes on that.
I do have a couple of things to add. When I redid the structure of the Public Works fee schedule, it looks like I missed the commercial fee permit for road approach site applications, and that would be $125. And the juvenile department no longer has fees, correct?
Yes, that was a late notice thing that we have on the juvenile schedule. We actually need to strike that entire table We were just gonna, but there's, because we are not allowed to do any fees. I didn't want to muddy the water with the order, but if we wanted to strike that table, we can at this point. Otherwise, we can just have a motion to do it. I'll have an order prepared in the next 2 meetings to do that. Right now, we're not in trouble because that table does allow the juvenile director discretion to waive fees, and so that's what she's doing right now. But to more appropriately reflect state statute, we should have that that done or removed.
Question for you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
How much feedback did you get from electeds and people on this fee schedule change?
We actually sent it out earlier in 2025 to all department heads and elected officials. And so some of those we brought up. I had specific conversations with the assessor. The clerk provided a full rewrite and standardization of her form. Sheriffs provided theirs. They didn't really have any changes. And the assessor, I had conversations with her as much as last week on, and hers was very small, but or sorry, not the assessor, the treasurer. And so Glenn's justice court's pretty much standardized, and so and state statutes, so there wasn't really much for him to change as well.
Right. Yeah, he's all set. So
Mhm.
so they had a chance to give their input though.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? What is our suggested motion here?
And Valerie, do you have a list now of the changes? That's the only thing I know we kind of talked about. My only question from the legal aspect is, I understand we're changing some of the titles for the fee schedule, so we're making some amendments right now. So one is changing from pay the titles on some, and then you mentioned adding 2 terms. I want to make sure we're on the same list of whatever motion is to approve the fee schedule later after we have the public comment, if there is any. We'll be making sure there's a list of changes that are being done here too, so we're on the same page.
So the road approach site application for commercial permits with Public Works, that was left blank by mistake. And that is $125 per permit application. And then I need to correct some of the table lettering, starting with parks in table K.
And that's in the resolution.
And that's in the.
Yeah.
Oh, it is in the resolution.
That part's in the resolution.
Or it's in the cover sheet.
Is in the cover sheet, it's correct.
Yeah.
And the charts themselves are correct, but then it's when I got down to the resolution.
And just also, it's a little bit different since this is normally for a public hearing, we have an introduction, everything else, we have the statement at the beginning. This is more, it just requires a statute, if there is any public comment, the county accepts it. So, I just recommend to the board of commissioners to open up for any comments regarding this fee schedule. We don't normally ever do that for a business item, but it's kind of unique for the fee schedule aspect, updating the fee schedule to allow public comment, but not requiring the full, the judicial process. So it's just kind of a weird one.
Okay, so the chair would call for public comment at this time. Okay. Is there anybody that wants to make public comment? Bobby?
Okay, this is Bobby. So, as far as the notice in 2025, I sure can't find that. I did find where I had questioned Matt on the fee schedules changing at the transfer station. But as far as seeing a whole one shipped to me, I don't have anything under fee schedule in 25. Just an FYI.
Okay.
Anybody have a response to that?
If there's any other public comment, Dave?
Raise your hand if you got something else to say, because we'll move on here. Okay. Then, we'll close down the public comment. Okay.
So Justin, should be two separate motions here in that maybe adopting the county fee schedule. If we want to take out the table from the one for juveniles and change the language as Valerie has suggested for the approach, maybe as one motion. And then a separate motion for the resolution in that we will have to be changing the lettering in the resolution. Would that be the best way to do that?
Right, so the lettering, sorry, I'm just trying to pull up oh, I see, because it's the fee schedule, then the resolution is the.
The suggestion motion does both of them in one.
It might be easier to be clear to do the two. If we want to do the two, or you can have that way.
Since we're having.
We're already deciding changes here, so I recommend doing it that way, two different motions.
Make it clear. So I'll move to approve the update to the Morrow County fee schedule effective January 22, 2026, with changes as discussed, which is changing the commercial approach in the public works and removing the fee table under the juvenile department fees.
We'll do a second on that.
Does that also account for changing the lettering because we remove a table?
Well, I think that it will still be there, just it won't be the table.
Okay, all right.
That's my interpretation.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, then moved and seconded. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Thank you.
So
for that.
then I'll make a motion to approve order number OR-2026-01 and that changing that to reflect when it lists there the table to accurately reflect the right ones. Like K will be public parks and.
Okay,
I second that motion.
does that sound right, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, then move to second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Done deal.
For that one, yep.
All right, thank you. All right, Kimberly's here. You
Good
wanna
morning.
give us a report now, or?
I am.
All right.
Thank you for letting me be a few minutes late. You know, it's not bad here. It's not bad in Hepner, it's just bad, the roads are just bad in between my house. Okay, well, I think you have all of the documents. I just want to pull up the email that I sent to Valerie to make sure I go over them in the right order. Is there a Wi-Fi code here? Because
Matt, do you know what the Wi-Fi code is?
Says only, just all one word, no caps.
okay. Internet. Okay, so first is the local plan template. What you have in front of you is the final version that was accepted. I sent an earlier version to you and there was just some small changes that the state wanted to see. So this is what is final. I'll give you a report back on it. Probably this next September or so. So it's a 2-year plan it's from July 2025 to June 2027. However, it was approved, at the end of December. So
Yes.
halfway into it would be something like next September or so. So I'll let you know how things are going with that. Did you have any questions with that document?
Not on that one.
Okay.
No.
All right. Next is the Zero Suicide newsletters. So those are just newsletters. Did you have any questions on those?
No, I appreciate the work being done on it.
The highlight for our Zero Suicide program is that CCS trained more people in our 5 counties than any other single or grouped county region in the rest of the state. So the next single county region was Marion County. We trained 800 individuals this last year, and they 200 and some odd individuals. So we're killing it. I'm very proud of Melissa Coiner and Brett and other members of CCS that are QPR trainers.
Chair, just to comment, the county did participate in that zero suicide training, and I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, but to a person, everyone who attended that felt that was so impactful and so well done. And so I just want to kind of give some kudos to CCS for that and appreciate their partnership and extending that to our employees.
Good to hear that, Matt. Really good, and thank you for letting us provide the training to the staff. It's a thought-provoking training. So if you haven't attended it, I encourage it. It's only 2 hours, and you will contemplate some life things. Not for yourself, likely, but other people.
It doesn't feel like a 2-hour training.
It doesn't. Thank you, Valerie. That's great. Yeah. And what I said was that true that you were thinking about?
Yeah.
This, like life.
Yeah, and then actually when we went to the AOC conference, the keynote speaker was highlighted in our training. So that was interesting.
Cool. All right, the Warm Line quarterly report. We show this to you in the last quarter. It's a statewide program. Doesn't funnel from Morrow County, but it looks like we had 23,000 calls for that quarter. Compared to the prior year, same quarter, we had 15,000 calls. So a lot more calls.
Is there any data on county breakdown for that or anything like that? Or is it just, this is the statewide use and that's it?
I think we do collect that, so I can send that to you.
Yeah, be interested in that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, it talks in there that they trying to limit it to people from Oregon.
Mhm.
So how do they do that?
It's
Trade secret.
there are area codes that are assigned generally to Oregon. Obviously 541 and 503.
Right.
It used to be much easier to do, but now is harder.
Yeah, that was my thought is, there's so many people that have moved here from someplace else. I think Matt's personal cell phone probably still has an area code from someplace besides Oregon, and he's obviously an Oregon resident, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We have the blocker on it that's gonna limit other states, but
And
it is a bit more of a challenge, and I think that we made some concessions around cell phones from other states, so it might just be landlines, and I don't know how they're able to do that, but I feel like there's something in there that they can. I could be mistaken.
Just curious, because I'm get why you would want to do it, because it is Oregon funds and there's only so much money. And you're, from reading it, it seems like they're almost overwhelmed as it is with the call volume, with the number of personnel. So I get all that, but I mean, unfortunately, there's probably people that aren't being able to use the service that are truly Oregon residents that can't. And again, it's not your fault or anything, it's just.
Sounds like those people need to update their phones too.
Yeah, it was a number of years ago, before the, before you started to have very different area codes. So I don't know, let's go back 15 years or so, just
Yeah.
making it up. We were starting to see a big uptick in out-of-state calls, because we do ask, what county are you calling from? I'm pretty sure we're still asking that. And it got to a point where I think about 20% of our calls were out of state. Our numbers were smaller then, but so was our staffing, right? There was a time when we were only 5 hours a day. But most states don't have the service, and we were getting complaints from Oregon residents that they couldn't get through. So you're very right, Commissioner, that it's hard to find the balance. And
I mean, I sure don't have the answer. Just, it's easy to point out the problem. It's hard to come up with a solution.
I have the answer. I think that the feds need to fund us for a national warm lane. And that's what I've lobbied them for, and wouldn't that be amazing?
There you go.
Right,
Problem
right here. Started in Fossil, Oregon. The need is that high.
Yeah.
The demand is that high, and it's so much cheaper than crisis line staff. Okay, next document is the Oregon Health Authority site review. And let's see, so they came out in August. They are our licensing agency, and they did a review. They come out every 3 years. The frequency is based upon your last site review. So if you don't do well, they might be out 30 days, 60 days, 90, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's the longest that you can receive is 3 years. So we had a 3-year, came out in August, did a review, 6 findings, if I recall. And a lot of them were around some changes that had occurred in the past couple of years around DUII work that we needed to make some changes on. I can go over all 6 of them with you if you like. You also have our response that the state accepted for the work plan. Do you want to go over this in more detail, or do you
I
have
guess
questions?
my question is, so you had a 3-year interval. Do you have what your next interval is?
3 years.
Okay, that tells me that the state says that the findings were relatively minimal and they're okay with things, and that you've got another 3-year window.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that helps contextualize it for me.
I guess I don't really mind none of them are gonna require financial reimbursement to the state.
No.
Okay,
No, the state doesn't do that.
they don't do it.
Gobi does do that. We'll talk about that in a minute. The state doesn't do that. Yeah, they haven't historically done that.
Okay,
Okay, next one is Gobi's. Gobi does a desk audit annually, and they in August, I think it was August, they did a desk audit for September 2024 through July of 25. They compiled and sent the report in November. Initially, they had 9 findings. We contested 3 of them. They just they didn't see some services in the chart. So because they couldn't find the services, they gave us a finding for them. We contested and said, understand you didn't see them, but here they are. They accepted them, so they reduced it to 9. Their findings are, with the exception of one item, I think that it was around something in the personnel file. could be one about that. That might be from the OHA one. They're looking more for financial fraud issues. So, for example, if you build a service that was for anxiety, but there's no anxiety on the assessment, it's for depression, then that would be a service that shouldn't have been built. Or let's say you provide individual therapy, which is a higher reimbursement rate. You build that, but what you actually described in your service was a case management service where you called the doctor. Usually that's going to be just clinician error, but you're going to get reimbursed at that higher rate because a computer doesn't know. It's just going to bill for individual therapy. But in the audit, they're going to say, you billed $90, this was a $24 service, so you have to pay this back. If you have a smaller number of those, like 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, it's just one service. If you have a larger number, and I think it's 8 or 9 out of 10, then you're going to have a pretty large payback because they're going to say it's not just individual specific, it's you've got a bigger coding issue. So CCS, we had 6 findings, none of which were very significant. Like you see finding number 3, 1 out of 10, finding number 4, 1 out of 10. Number 2 was 6 out of 10. But they did go back and do a larger review at our request and found that it was just those 6, which was nice. So we did have a payback to Gobi of $3,172. And I don't want to sound like I am, so I'm going to say something and I don't want it to be surprising. The number, that's a good number. That's a good number. I will take it. Most of the other providers in Gobi land had numbers that were much higher, like 60, 70, 80,000. So I'm proud of the team and the work that we're doing. What these are clinician errors where they're just going too fast. You know, you have a drop down menu with 100 services that are in there, and you have it's just an example. You have psychotherapy that's $172, and then right below that you have case management that's 20 some odd dollars. You delivered psychotherapy or vice versa, and you dropped the wrong one in there. You're gonna have a payback. I'll also note that if you underbill, you don't get paid for that. You only have paybacks, right? So your issue, if you underbill, you're not going to get that additional money, but you are going to pay it back. So this was a good review, and they do it every year, whether they do it every year. I do think that Gobi would come more often if they saw really significant issues. We don't know what that would be, but they'll come and do another desk audit next year.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
Nope.
No, I mean, I would agree. If that is the total number of errors, we could call it, that's pretty darn good.
I was happy with that, yeah. Okay. I don't see this next one in mind, but that's okay. So the next one is the encounter data issue. Yep. Okay. A lot of CCOs in Oregon are fee for service, so you deliver a service and you get paid as a provider. Gobi and a few others give you the funds up front, so that's called capitation. And the amount that you receive in capitation is based upon the number of OHP enrolled individuals in your county. So you get that at the beginning of the month. If Morrow County had 1,000 enrolled individuals, it gets a check for this month, and next month, if it drops to 900, the check is less. You get that amount regardless of the number of people that come in. So if you have one person that comes in for services, you get the same check. If you have every single enrolled person that come in for services that month, you get the same check. And it's your responsibility to figure out how to provide the service. So that's how capitation works. We need to be delivering 75 cents for every dollar in service. And we haven't met that in the last year. And there's a reason for that. And because we haven't met it, Gobi has us on a plan of assistance. So again, if we receive $1 in capitation, we need to deliver 75 cents in service. You might recall that around 3 years ago, OHP during COVID said, we're really concerned about all the clinicians that are leaving the workforce. We want to help you address this. And so there was a legislature that across the board did a 30% increase in Oregon healthcare plan benefits, because that's the largest payer source for us. And the intent of the funding was to increase clinician pay and to provide other retention incentives. So that's great. And that's what we did. We did increase pay, but we didn't hire more people to provide more service. We just increased pay. So we're dealing with that issue now because we're not providing more services. So whereas before we were at 90 cents or $1 for every dollar, that 30% increase just reset everything. So now we're getting $1.30 and we're still delivering like the 90 cents. Is that you're tracking? So now we're down below the 75% and we're on a plan of assistance, and Gobi is saying we've got to address this, which we agree, right? As a taxpayer, if somebody's getting $1 and they're delivering 75 cents, they should be paying the 25 cents back. Well, the issue is that we're paying it to the clinicians. We're doing what we're supposed to do with it, but we have to figure out a way to increase the services with the same number of people. So what you have in your packet, that is you have the notice from Gobi saying you have to address this. The second document is what we're doing to address it. And it's a work in progress. Gobi is pleased with our work thus far. I think that we're gonna have this addressed so we're back up above the 75%, probably more like 90% by the end of this year, and I'll keep you posted on our progress. It is a significant issue. If we lose funding, again, it's not that we're not using the funds. We lose funding, we've got some problems. Yeah. So, any questions about that?
I don't.
So basically got to increase.
Is that the bot that they called the bot from New York?
Kelly, you're on muted, Kelly. Just let you know.
Okay, any other questions, Kimberly, on that subject?
Hey, oh, here it is. Anyways, I did a good job. All right. Next one is House Bill 2024. There was some funds that were approved by this House bill to improve retention. They sent the request out, the RFP out this last fall, I think around October or November. We responded. Each entity could, depending upon your size, large, could receive up to 225,000 if your proposal was approved for clinician recruitment and retention. We wanted to start an internship program. We've had some success with that. As an example, like we've had some success with that. I'll come back to it, where we've been doing it informally. We train people on our dime and then they stay, which is nice when they get their degree. We want to pay people when they're working on their degree to come to us, and then we're hopeful that they will stay.
And then we also wanted to do some loan forgiveness, or like maybe not loan forgiveness, but we make some payments on clinicians' loans. I did just hear that we were approved, however, they had more responses than what they were anticipating, so we need to reduce our request from 220. That's what the amount was, down to 215,000. So I'll be updating that, but generally it looks like it was approved. And then I also included the program that we're proposing to start to pay interns. So you have that in your packet.
I'm very excited about that. I think that's a great route to go.
Us too. What I was going to speak to is we had a gal that we gave a scholarship to here in the North End, maybe 5 years ago. We paid a couple of $1,000s each year towards her tuition. She was really good about submitting her expenses to us, and then she came and is now working for us. So we don't always have that happen, but that's significant for us today. Any questions about that?
No, I don't.
Let's see, next one. On this intern. So I think that the next one then is our newsletter. I think that we do a nice job with that. And then last one I sent to Valerie a day or two later. It's our customer satisfaction survey. So you have Morrow County in here. It looks like it starts on page, what is it?
31.
Well, I showed 26 for Morrow County. And blue and green are good. Orange and red are not. And without going over each one specifically, you have heavily weighted to blue and green. And then you have some comments at the end. Any questions on that? All right. One last verbal, like just a non-document comment is that we've had longer wait times for assessments. In some cases, it's been a couple of months. We've been working on that recently, and you can now get in for a mental health assessment in 10 days. So really proud of the work that we've done there. You've always been able to get in pretty quickly for an addictions assessment, but mental health assessment wait times are now 10 days. Any concerns that you've heard in the community about CCS? Any feedback, anything you'd like to see? What can we do better?
I mean, I'm really excited about the internship program, and I think that we as, accounting as a community, investing in whoever is coming next, that's a great way to do that, and we need to plan for it. So kudos for that, and I hope it is successful.
Let's do. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so now we got consideration of letter of intent for the circuit court annex in Boardman. It's Matt.
Yes, sir. What we have before you is a consideration of letter of intent. During our capital improvement plan process, the city of Boardman presented an option where they were working with the circuit courthouse or the Sixth Circuit Court to build an annex in the city of Boardman. Their proposal is that they would pay for the cost of the construction, that the court would take care of the furniture, the FF&E, fixtures, furnishings, and equipment for the court, and that after completion, that the Morrow County would enter into a 20-year lease to cover operational costs of the project. This is a letter of intent written to the circuit court judges here in the sixth court, so they can take it and show to as they make a request for FF and E. Well, we don't have a direct cost on the operational costs, but this would be an investment to allow more immediate access to justice on the north side of the county at a minimal cost to the county itself. And so this letter is not a full commitment, but it is a letter of intent. Any additional and actually further developed agreements would be settled through an IGA or a lease document once we know that the project is to commence, and that would come before the board again. So we're asking for consideration and approval of the letter of intent as written, and I'm open for any questions from the board as necessary.
Well, just a comment, I think since we included it in our the capital improvement plan, I think this is the logical next step.
Yes.
We're coming through with what we're planning. I like it. So good planning. So
Yeah,
any other questions?
I appreciate that it's an intention because there are still details to work out. We're acknowledging that, so I'm good with it as it is. Should we send it to all of the judges in the 6th district?
So what we have is we have Judge Hill, who was the presiding judge for the 6th Circuit. He was the one who initiated this project. Judge Temple has assumed that position at the start of the year, and that's why we had both of them in the letter.
All right. Well, I'm good with that, and I'm sure they'll talk to each other.
Okay, any other questions of Matt? Then what's our proposed motion here?
I move to approve the letter of intent.
I second.
We move the second and further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Thank you, board.
Okay, all right. Next up is approval of the Transit Advisory Committee nominees. Stephen, are you? There you are.
I'm here. Stephen A. Davis again, Public Transit Manager. I have a very engaged Transit Advisory Committee right now. 2 positions I'd like the board approval to reappoint. The 3rd position is an alternate member who is stepping up into a full membership after one of our members has decided to leave. So with board approval, I'm hoping to share the news that they can continue serving on the Transit Committee.
Looks like you got 3 good candidates here.
They definitely share their opinions and their point, which is a good thing. That's the point of the committee, correct?
Caveat on there.
Good job,
All right,
Stephen.
okay. Any questions, Stephen? We got to take a motion to approve the 3 Transit Advisory Committee nominees to serve 2-year terms.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I second that motion.
You move the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up.
Super.
Comments to Oregon Department of Energy for the Wheat Ridge Renewable Energy 3, preliminary request for amendment 1. PRFA 110.
So Dave, I will recuse myself. Wheat Ridge Energy will get transmission services for this from Utah Electric.
Okay.
I'm on board of Utah Electric, so I won't participate in any discussion or vote.
Gonna miss your wordy commentary.
Okay.
Okay, have a.
Thank you. We had a 2.5-hour meeting with Department of Energy EPSEC staff last week. Thought it was an hour, but they had a whole lot to share, and we learned, and it was very productive. We spent just a little bit of time actually talking about this Wheat Ridge project, and then in your packet you have this organization chart. Because Wheat Ridge started 15-ish years ago. It's been quite a long time ago, and it's in both Morrow and Umatilla County. Maybe it's 10 years ago. So the bottom piece over here is the subject of what this is called a request for amendment 1 for Wheat Ridge 3. So it'll be split into 2. The reason that it's not an NOI, it's not a whole new application, but they said once by this process opens up any of those standards they thought the county might want to look at. They did some homework for us. I just have a note in there about land use. It was my interpretation that given the land use code amendment that we just adopted, that Wheat Ridge could choose either 660 Division 330130 Section 38 standards or Section 44 and 44 were the new ones. Sarah from Department of Energy said, well, actually, the sort of legal nuance, they'll have to apply the old ones, which means the application piece would have to address an exception to statewide planning goal 3, which is already in their application for this. Odd little nuance that doesn't really have a lot of meaning to it. I did coordinate with Corey for weed abatement. Corey Sweeney drafted this language. He looked at it and said, fine. And I did the same also with road impacts with Eric Imes. And just as a legal precaution, he's asking for a specific road use agreement for that separate project in case there's any issues. I just noted that the new fire suppression standards will apply. And then the final piece, I'm not sure if it will be binding, but just addressing temporary workforce housing. And I hope that when they come in for their conditional use permit, after the siting council approves this, that they might work with some landowners in the area, and we could include their property when we issue our CUP and then notice of decision for that. That would set the stage for a farmer in the vicinity to have temporary workforce housing on their property. We've only approved one couple of years ago, and that landowner, that family decided not to build it. But if I memorialize it here, it just might set the stage for others. So I know I've heard from one new landowner about that opportunity. It's just an opportunity really to share some of the wealth around if somebody wants to set up some RV parking next to a shop and a well, that sort of thing.
Well, and we need more housing for these projects, period. There's not enough. So it does need to be, in my opinion, something that is considered. So
thank you. It's a huge issue because to me, it seems like a check the box perfunctory standard that FSEC meets. And I don't mean that at all disrespectfully, but every application says, here's the inventory and we think that'll be enough, but nobody addresses the cumulative impacts. And that cumulative impacts piece is a universal concern about many other standards, but definitely with housing. So I don't know what the fix is, and it's temporary, right? So maybe a little tiny bit of the fix is a couple farmers in the area, and that's in our code. It's also in the statute. The landowner would need to come forward, and it does not have to be a landowner who's part of the project. It could be a neighboring landowner. It could be a landowner that's really not even in the vicinity, but it's tied to this project. I mean, the idea is they locate in close proximity, shorten the commute time, decrease demand on rental housing in particular in our area, which is really pretty crazy.
Any questions of Tamara? Okay, we have a motion to approve and sign the letter to FSEC.
I move to sign the letter to FSEC as presented.
I'll second. Been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
How was that?
Thank
Pretty
you.
good,
Yeah,
huh?
you did
I
good.
almost went to you. Okay.
I hasn't. Oh, that sounds sarcasm. Oh, did you? Okay.
Okay, next up, we got our transfer of appropriations and payment authorization for Columbia Development Authority invoice. Kevin.
I just messaged him to let him know. He's joining us shortly, unmuting. No.
Board, he's wrapped up in some ERP administrative meetings and trainings on that. This is a approval for transfer appropriations and payment authorization for the CDA authority invoice. We have a certain amount that we need to cover from this, and it was not originally included in the budget, partially because of some grant changing in the funding of the CDA, and so we are proposing to transfer $217,453 from the general fund operating contingency to pay for the CDA portions of the items, and he has provided a recommended action to take care of that as part of the cover letter and the resolution. And so this is an agreement as part of the CDA, and so we'd like to make sure we're up to date on the expenses that the county is committed to pay for these for this, and hope that as we go through some additional changes, those might be there might be changes in the air, but we'd like to get up to date so we can be in good standing with the CDA and the other partners that we have on that. Oh, Kevin has joined. I'll let him take over.
Yeah, I think Matt kind of covered it. The only thing I would just wanted to add, so this particular invoice and the costs that are on it, it was a topic. I put this in the write-up. It was a topic of a special board meeting, and then there's some correspondence back and forth. And at least at some level, there was discussion amongst the Board of Commissioners of the appropriateness or intent of how much the county was going to cover of these invoices. So I didn't want to put this out there as a presumed budget adjustment. That was kind of conditioned on, after discussion, if that's the board's preference, then that's the budget adjustment that would be required, not just for this invoice, but again, assuming there'd be 4 quarters of invoices that we'd need to pay for fiscal 2026.
Okay, any questions of Kevin? Do I hear a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt resolution R-2026-03, transferring appropriations from general fund contingency as described therein and authorized payment of the Columbia Development Authority invoice number W-2026 in the amount of $54,363.35.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All
I
in
just-
favor?
I would ask our CDA rep.
Oh,
How do
any
you
further
feel about
discussion? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is our 20% share of the overhead, the CDA that's been budgeted.
I think given possible future discussions, let's get this cleaned up.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's all my.
Any other discussion? Okay, been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, let's see, schedule G, and we got HR, Board Advisory Committee discussion, and that's August.
Yeah, so I am the board representative on the Airport Advisory Committee, and I was waiting for somebody to tell me when it happened, and it never did, and so I did more digging. The Airport Advisory Committee last met in January of 2021, so it's been a little bit. So the advisory committee is regrouping with a potential meeting set for February 25th. But I would like for, according to the bylaws of the airport committee, that we have to advertise the positions and then make the selections based on folks who apply. And everybody's position has expired because they were 3-year terms and hasn't met since January of 2021. So what I would like is to direct Public Works to do the process of advertising for all 7 positions on the Airport Advisory Committee with the goal of having a full slate to present at our first meeting in February, or if not, our second meeting in February. And then we can make this group functional again, because I think it would be good for the airport and for the users and the county to be able to have that space to have conversations.
Okay,
So,
question?
the question is really curiosity. Is there, have the 7 members, are they supposed to represent certain areas, or are
Yes.
they all citizens at large, or?
The bylaws have, so someone from Public Works, a pilot, a renter, 2 citizens at large, and I don't remember, but yes, there
Good
are,
enough. Good enough.
yes. So.
Okay, any other questions, Gus? Okay, well, he just wants, he just wanted to tell us what he's gonna do. And, the consensus that we're glad you're doing that, get it
Okay.
cranked up again.
Um,
That's my thought. Yes, Matt?
Chair, I just wanted to check if we were able to get that advertised out in the Gazette next week, I would encourage that the expectation is that we would bring it back on the February 18th meeting, just to give a week or 2 period of advertising for openings and reaching out to the previous members to see if they would be interested in continuing. So just to set expectations, and so I would propose targeting February 18th as the meeting where we'd bring members back to the board.
I think that's reasonable.
I remember appointing one a while back. I think he's gone, so there might be some people who aren't around, so we may be looking at some people who aren't around, or anyway, okay. All right, so you have direction on that. Yeah, what's it? Okay, correspondence. Valerie, got anything?
Yes, one second. I just got an email this morning from planning. They received an email. Let's see. Okay, written comment for record. Landowner status regarding the Heritage Trail. This is from Jonathan Tallman. Dear Chair Sykes and Commissioners, I submit this correspondence for inclusion in the official record of the January 21st, 2026 Morrow County Board of Commissioners meeting, including any executive session discussion and any action items that may follow. I am the managing member of First John 217 LLC, owner of property in the Laurel Lane area that has been referenced in prior discussions and materials related to the Columbia River Heritage Trail. For the avoidance of doubt and for record clarity, 1, I have not granted consent, easement, or authorization for use of my property for any trail, corridor, or recreational purpose. No acquisition, negotiation, or compensation process under ORS 35 has occurred. Any characterization of the Columbia River Heritage Trail as conceptual does not create landowner consent or authorization expressed or implied. No intergovernmental agreement, coordination framework, or preservation action may be relied upon with respect to my property absent lawful acquisition and compensation. This correspondence is not a request for board action. It is submitted solely to ensure the record accurately reflects landowner status prior to any executive session discussion or board action related to the Heritage Trail or associated agreements. I'll forward this to you.
I got a question about this for Justin. What legally, what does this mean? When somebody sends us a letter and says.
Well, I think that's more of a note, how I would interpret it is more of a landowner, not notice, but they're concerned because I think like many times maybe landowners see something that in the agenda and they're thinking, oh, a heritage trail, which our discussion is just on the CDA property, just that section there that we're talking about. Maybe in communication, it's been talked about, well, this trail goes through, we want to connect this trail and the private property. And I would consider this a landowner saying, hey, if you're talking about this, it better not include my private property. I have not received communication from Mr. Tallman regarding this to see.
Matt might have more information. I know Tamara does as well.
Okay.
And then I do as well, because the whole of the Heritage Trail skirts the Columbia River and then John south. But it doesn't go through his property, Mr. Tolman's property. There are future talks about Boardman's trail going through his property, but that's the city of Boardman, not us. And so, and they would have to, of course, talk to Mr. Tolman about that. But,
So the idea being, it's still the idea that the landowner's kind of like, well, you're talking about a heritage trail, it's a big, goes through the county, goes through maybe the city parts, it goes on the river. And his concerns maybe of being, well, at some point, the city may do this, and just as a heads up, I don't like it, or
Yeah.
there hasn't been any agreements.
yeah.
So I don't see, it doesn't affect anything the county does. I think it's more the correspondence to have on the record of saying, there is no agreement with me yet. I want to make it clear that, there hasn't been, and if it goes through my property, I better be a part of it or something. But that's not what the county's process here is. So, Matt, anything else too?
And that's one of the things when we talk about strategic plans and even conceptual plans for park development or other items, there are times that we include properties that are not included in the county. This does throw up a big red flag to say, to let them know that we're interested in that. And I appreciate Mr. Tallman's concern that there haven't been discussions yet. There have not, particularly with the Columbia River Trail that we're involved in because it doesn't touch his property. But even with the Columbia River Trail, we have several different property owners that we're going to have to negotiate with. But whenever you have a conceptual plan on that, that indicates a decision for the public body like the Board of Commissioners to say, hey, we're interested in this. We can start having those discussions. And it gives an authorization to do it. I understand Tallman's concern with the city's proposed trails, and we will track the concerns as far as it impacts the county ones, county projects. But really, there's no action that's necessary for us at this time. Just to note his concern.
I got a question now. There is would you call it a negotiating team, a negotiating point person? Does that person need to be appointed? So is it by default Matt? I just want to make sure we handle this in the correct manner.
So with this project, especially where it's quite extensive and goes through, I would anticipate that as the board approves the project and approves budgets that would have impact and ability to go out and acquire lands, that the board would designate a specific person to negotiate those right-of-ways and that. That's typically how I've proceeded with things with construction projects and street projects in other municipalities. And so whether that's me or a contracted individual or another person on staff, something like this would require a designation. And I would anticipate bringing that to the BOC after we adopt the plan.
Okay, and at that point, you would have contact with Mr. Tolman.
If necessary. Right now, our
well,
Heritage
he
Trail,
initiates
yes.
it. Well, no, based on his letter here, or whatever.
So I think.
I just want to make sure we do it right. That's all.
Yes.
So I think it's time to ask Tamara, and I haven't, been as involved with this, but my understanding is, especially through this area, it's gonna be way north of Mr. Tolman. So I mean, on the other side of the freeway from Mr. Tolman, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That's correct, yes. And we actually created, we've got 100 or so pages from Mr. Tolman in the Planning Commission's packet for Tuesday, January 27th. That's the first legislative hearing. You will have the second and final say on whether or not to adopt a goal 8 update to our comprehensive plan, which includes the Heritage Trail as an appendix, so it's formally adopted. And that will come before you a month from today. And in order to address these concerns, Stephen made us a map that shows the Heritage Trail, the Interstate 84, the location of Mr. Tolman's property south of Interstate 84, that proximity. And the city has a parks plan with the Parks District and a trail plan that might come close to his property, but that's not what is in front of the board of commission, the county. That's right, yeah. And we have coordinated with the city, and I feel okay talking about it, even though it's coming before you in a month, because it's a legislative action. It's not quasi judicial. We don't have to provide notice for this, but we are including the same set of comments that Valerie just found. They came to our office, so sent them over to Valerie first thing this morning. Those will also be adopted and included in the planning commission packet. Yeah.
So in years past, and maybe things have changed, but most of the Heritage Trail was gonna be on public property, wasn't it?
That's right. Yep.
I mean, very little, from what I remember, ever be on private property.
I think it's when we get north and west of Tower Road, then it's Port and 3 Mile Canyon Farms, right? And that is the sort of the extremely
out there.
way out there. Yeah, I won't live to see that, I'm pretty sure, but and it's really conceptual. It just says it'd be nice to coordinate with those landowners and have a trail so you could walk to that fishing area at the west end of the county line or into Gillum County. Those are the only two private, other than most of it's in right of way and Army Corps property.
Yeah, and I mean, at least when I think of the port, I think of public property, but.
Yeah, and we acknowledge them as a landowner and we've coordinated with them on that piece as well.
Okay, thank you for clarification
you-
on that.
You bet.
Okay. Commission reports. Jeff, anything you want to report on?
So yesterday was Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and I guess the one thing to note out of there is it's because of the Waste Modernization Act, I believe they call it. The passed a couple of years ago by the state legislature, and how you have to do a lot more recycling, and people that bring in packaging, the state have to pay this fee. And where the impact is any city that's a population of 4,000 and their urban growth boundary has to now have curbside recycling. So what sanitary disposal is coming to the SWAC for was to get authorization to charge $8 a month additional fee for the urban growth boundary report and for the curbside recycling. And you know, this is something that's mandated by the state that they provide this service through the fees that the state's collecting through these charges that they're charging people that bring in packaging. They're able to offset expenses to sanitary disposal for equipment and the carts and stuff. They say that the $8 a month is to cover our operational costs, driver's wages, fuel, and maintenance. So according to sanitary disposal, he was thinking it's gonna affect around 150 people in the urban growth boundary around Port. It won't affect any place else because no other city
So it won't
has
affect
4,000.
inside Boardman or?
Well, that agreement they have to work out with the city of Boardman.
Okay,
But that's why it came to this solid
Because
waste advisory committee.
the urban growth boundary
boundaries.
solely affects, okay, all
Because
right,
it's still technically the county.
all right, I'm following.
Yeah. So all of city of Boardman will have curbside recycling. They'll have special bins. They'll pick them up twice a month. And it sounds like you'll get your bin, 95-gallon cart, which is one of the larger bins, and you throw all your approved recycles in there. I think he said everything but glass, but plastic, metal, cardboard, paper, you don't have to sort them out.
Okay.
They'll go in there. So milk
This sounds
jugs,
like an
detergent jugs.
unfunded mandate.
Well, the state would say that they're
They're funding some of it, okay.
Yeah, the large majority of it. I mean,
All right,
their sanitary disposal, I think they said they're getting like 4 new trucks into service, you know, so it's not just Morrow County, City, but.
all right.
Okay, anything else?
And then next Tuesday will be the CBA meeting, and you know, let's see. Later on, we have on our agenda to deal with the settlement. Hopefully everything gets passed through here and we can put that behind us. Yes, cross our fingers, you're right, yes. And hopefully that gets taken care of, so. Stay tuned on that. That's all I got.
Okay, I don't have anything. You got anything?
I'm going to the Eastern Oregon, I don't remember. I'm going to the legislative session that Senator Nash is putting on tomorrow in LeGrand, and I'll go ahead and share what we talk about at our next meeting, because I'm sure we'll have some good stuff to work through and figure out.
Anything else? Okay, That concludes commissioner reports. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna call a 5-minute recess of the open meeting, and when we come back, we're gonna go into executive session. Right now, we're in 5. Could potentially be a pseudonym.
I'm starting video. And we are recording. Okay. Good.
Okay, call the meeting back into order, and the Morrow County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session pursuant to whereas 192-66028 to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Now, there will be an attorney online.
There should be one. Yeah.
Okay, then the media is gonna be
Connected yet or
around.
not.
Representing the news media designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. And when we come back to open session, there's a potential decision or action as a result of executive session. A, Heritage Trail IGA, and B, 24C V31777 agreement. Okay, with that, we'll go into executive session.
Oh, it looks like, yeah, the Robert Seigel is the one that would be, that's Mark, it looks like.
Do we know who Oregon office is?
Waiting room. No.
Okay, so we've got Andrea, Matt, and Robert Siegel.
Yeah, but I think Robert is actually Mark. So we'll let him unmute.
Okay.
Just making sure, Mark, that's you, right? It shows Robert, but pretty sure I
It
recognize.
is. I had depositions earlier this week, and we were doing it remote, and I had a witness. And for some reason, it's normally very easy for me to swap out my name, but I don't know why I'm unable to do it today.
Perfect. All right, just, so are we all ready then, Valerie, or? Sure.
Oh, 1 second.
What's her name? Okay. All right, we're back in open session. And potential decision or action, A, Heritage Trail IGA. Do we have a motion we want to go on that one?
I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement for preservation of South Trail as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, our second one.
I'll go ahead and make the motion, and Justin, you correct me if I do it wrong. How's that sound?
Correct. That's not a problem. I can also repeat my recommended motion.
Well, I think I got it.
Okay.
I move to authorize the agreement of 24C V31777 in the substantial representation as discussed in executive session.
And allow which one of the commissioners to sign off on that.
And to authorize Chair Sykes to sign.
Okay, Valerie, you got that correct? Okay.
So I second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I did think about making Jeff do it, but.
Well, why didn't you?
It's just you're the chair. It seems right.
Let's
Yeah.
put it into action. Jeez. Okay, then moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
So along those lines, I take it that when we meet next Tuesday, if there's a vote or something needs to be signed at the CDA, I'm authorized to sign off.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as
Making
it
what
agrees substantially,
with
yeah.
what we discussed.
Yeah.
But
Understood.
well, I won't go into what you expect, but we'll see. Who knows what to expect from that? I gave that up a long time ago. Okay, so any other business come for the commission today? Not, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.